24 years, one league has stood the test of time. The Mile High Affiliates Podcast. Stories of triumph and heartbreak, told through 24 years of fantasy football. But the past was just the warm-up. Year 25 is here, and it is going to be epic.
And freaking-tastic.
I am the god when it comes to the rules.
I am a hater on Jordan Love.
I was shitting on Sam Darnold like no other.
They're a team that doesn't want to eat their vegetables.
Copy. I got 5 championships.
You are listening to the MHA Podcast.
All right, how are we feeling, MHA owners? The preseason is underway. We are less than 3 weeks away from our live draft and about 3 weeks away from the first game of the NFL season. Eric Lansing along with Mikey Renaud, Todd Diamond. Guys, does it feel like football is finally here?
Yeah, absolutely it does. I mean, preseason games going on, and like I said, we're almost there. And I always feel like when we get to the wide receiver podcast, like, all right, we're just a few weeks away from the draft, and ready to see if I can get my 4th championship. Let's go.
How about you, Miguel? How are you feeling these days?
Feeling good. I mean, like Todd said, 3 weeks away from basically less than 3 weeks away from our draft. And yeah, time is moving quickly. So yeah, I hope everybody's ready.
Are you guys ready with your rankings, and on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being you're in trouble, you're so far away from your finishing your rankings, or 10 you're completely done? Where do you feel like you're at, Todd?
I'm at a 5 right now.
Oh, that's surprising. I figured you'd be done by now.
Well, I mean, a 5 just means, I got, that I want to see how the rest of this preseason, plays out, and then I tweak my rankings. But for the most part, I'm done. But there's always, you gotta tweak a few things in the rankings after preseason and everything like that, and depending on too, because who's gonna get cut and how and how's the depth chart gonna look. So there's you're ready, but you can still tweak a few things.
I'm sure Mikey's not anywhere near a 10. Where are you at these days, Miguel?
So truth be told, Todd was done when he made that trade last year.
Oh my
second
God.
round pick.
Wow. Well done.
I feel like
I'm not well done. Okay.
I feel like I'm at a solid 7.
That's pretty good. That's higher than I thought you would be.
Yeah,
I
no,
guess
I
we're
feel
close, right? We're gonna finish. We're gonna do wide receivers this week. It's a little bit next week with tight ends. I don't know how much time you put into kickers and defenses, but 7's pretty good.
you put the least amount of time into kickers and defenses.
I'll tell you about Mikey's kicker strategy. It's a Brandon Aubrey in the 10th round.
Yeah, I was gonna think maybe Mikey surprise us and maybe go kicker in the 8th round. You never know.
I figure he keeps getting higher and higher because he wants to have him in every year. So that's my guess is 10th round.
Hey, he's a great kicker. I'll tell you.
He puts up a ton of points and an offense that scores a lot inside a dome. He's pretty good. And they just paid him a lot. And so that's when he's going to go downhill. Just ask
That's
Justin
usually
Tucker.
how that works.
Yeah.
Because as we know, the Todd Diamond philosophy is chip on your shoulder.
Chip on the shoulder.
Once you get paid, then it's all downhill after that.
Yep, that chip is gone. That chip gets soggy. It gets broken.
Potato chip?
Yeah, potato chip. Yeah.
All this time.
Yeah, because again,
metaphor.
because no one likes a soggy chip.
Can't argue with that logic.
Yep.
No one likes a soggy chip. Anyway, so what's coming up on today's show? Well, we'll get into those wide receivers. Who is number 1? Who is set to break out? And how do we feel about Malik Neighbors? And of course, we'll talk about some wide receiver battles and which guys you should draft first. So we got to get to that news first. And we've got quite a few injuries to kind of get to.
Now, at the risk of being unpopular, This reporter places the blame for all of this squarely on you, the viewers.
All right. So where do we start? Before the injuries, we had a couple of signings that sounds like no one's really excited about, but the Colts signing Keenan Allen to a 1-year deal. Todd, is that fantasy worthy?
I guess. I mean, he'll do something. I don't know. Get hurt. I don't know. Either one. I don't know. That really doesn't. And again, I'm not basing it off of that Keenan Allen screwed me many, many years ago, but no, that really doesn't do anything for me.
Mikey, is this more of an indication that Alec Pierce's injury is more serious than we let on, and that's why they signed him?
It definitely could be. As far as his fantasy relevance, he has no upside at this point in his career. And so that leaves him as a guy that probably goes undrafted, but can still play a role on somebody's team, as a potential streamer.
Keenan Allen still doing it after all these years. How about another signing? One of Todd's, I don't know if he's in Todd's Hall of Fame, but because Todd likes to talk about that. But his Hall of Fame, Najee Harris, signed a 1-year deal with the Giants. Are you excited to have him back on the field, Todd Diamond?
Yeah, I mean, because first of all,
yeah, he is super excited. Yeah,
because I'm looking at it this way. Scatterboo is, even though he says I'm gonna be more careful, I'm not gonna play reckless and bash my head on the ground. But I mean, that Giants backfield, I look at it this way: this Giants backfield, a lot of injuries. I mean, Tyrone Tracy, he's serviceable when he's on there, but Najee Harris, I mean. And he even said today, and when he was talking to the media, he says, "Hey, I got a chip on my shoulder." I'm like, "Hey, that's fine by me in my book." So, yeah, let's get that chip on the shoulder.
A lot of chip talk on today's podcast. Let's go to some injuries here. Jets starting running back Breece Hall expected to miss 2 to 3 weeks with groin issues. More running back news. Christian McCaffrey dealing with quote, tightness. Now, it doesn't specifically say where the tightness is taking place. There is speculation that CMC is tight because of contract negotiations. So we'll see how that kind of plays out. Also from the 49ers and also dealing with tightness, Mike Evans. Of course, his tightness is coming from his quad. Sounds like he might be out more than a week, but should be back pretty soon. Another wide receiver, Emeka Egbuka, last Wednesday limped off the field and may not be ready for week 1, according to head coach Todd Bowles. So that's definitely not good for someone like me who has him highly ranked, and we'll talk about that, I'm sure, on the show. How about third overall pick Jeremiah Love, who's dealing with a high ankle sprain and is unlikely to play for the rest of the preseason. So the positive news is that Love will not need surgery, but that is definitely going to be an issue for those of us who are seeing how he's going to look and how it's going to fare in that crowded backfield, but there you go. How about another running back, Kyle Monangai, dealing with a knee issue and is week to week. More running back news. Josh Jacobs has been dealing with a groin problem, although I saw today that he returned to practice, so I guess it's not too serious. And then Saints rookie wide receiver Jordan Tyson out for a month due to a hamstring injury. And I know we're going to talk about wide receivers, but I'll just ask you this now. I'll start with Mikey. Does that drop Tyson in the rankings for you, Miguel?
Yeah, it did. I do not like the words hamstring nor strain. And so, yeah, those things, they tend to linger. So, yeah, you're probably not going to be ready for the start of the regular season. And it's going to be one of those things where you're going to keep seeing week to week, week to week, week to week. So, yeah, I moved him down.
And he's missing all of this preseason action that's supposed to help you kind of get acclimated and be ready and understand the plays and the routes and blah, 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 blah. And now you're going to have to sit and watch. And even when he's back, he may not be ready to go per se because he hasn't really kind of gotten used to the system. So it could be more than a month at least fantasy worthy. We'll see how it all goes. He could be great, but something to keep an eye on, especially on draft day. All right, time to get into the MHA championship ranking. And we're going to talk about our 21st MHA champion. "24 years of greatness.
Acknowledge me!
All right, so let's honor our number 21st MHA champion, and that is the 2009 I've Had Better squad. The brother of Mark Babish went 9-5 that year, finishing first in his division, but second overall. He scored the fourth most points in the league that season, but he also saw the second least amount of points. He jumped out to a great 4-0 record, but went 5-5 the rest of the way. He defeated number 3 seeded Lemonheads 110-102. In that semifinal matchup after earning a bye, and then beat 5-seeded Buck Nasties 118-59 in that championship match. You know, he had some good things and some good running. He had some okay running backs on his squad. What did this stand out about this team for you?
For me, what stood out to me was he had like some incredible performances. One of them being he had the Brandon Marshall game for those that remember. The NFL record for receptions, 21 receptions in the game, which covered 43 fantasy points. That was part of his team. But it was more so his wins and the amount of points that he was beating people by, which was pretty impressive, especially at the end. And yeah, I mean, besides that, I agree with you that 9-5 record. Yeah, it wasn't the strongest league year, I will say. But yeah, kudos to him. A championship is a championship, right?
No doubt about it. No doubt about it. He picked up the championship. And the one thing I'll say about his team is that, like, so Rashard Mendenhall was one of his best running backs, got him in the 11th round. Jonathan Stewart was up there. He got him in the 8th round. And so to be able to pick up guys like that late that ended up staying on his team and playing a majority of the season, that's well done. And so I've Had Better, the 21st. And then we'll be at number 20 next week. And we'll actually have a guest on for that one. So stick around for that. Time to talk about some wide receivers. Part 1, we'll get through kind of the list that I put together here today. Whatever we don't finish today, then we'll get to next week because we'll talk about wide receivers part 2 and then a little bit of tight end talk as well before we get to who we think the number 1 wide receiver should be. Let's go through how the wide receivers finished in the top 12 in 2025. Puka Nacua finished first, 289 points in 16 games played, 129 receptions, a little over 1,700 yards and 10 TDs. Jackson Smith-Njigba, what a breakout for the Seattle wide receiver, 270 points, 119 receptions, almost 1,800 yards and 10 TDs. Amon-Ra St. Brown just does it every year, 253 points, 117 receptions, 1,400 yards and 11 TDs. Jamar Chase, 243 points, 125 receptions, 1,400 yards, 8 touchdowns, and did a lot of that without Joe Burrow. How about George Pickens? 220 points, 93 receptions, 1,429 yards, 9 TDs. Chris Olave bounced back. Well, probably, his best season ever, but he bounced back after kind of a rough 2024 season. 100 receptions, a little over 1,100 yards and 9 touchdowns. Devontae Adams. Now check out these numbers. In 14 games played, 183 points, 60 receptions, 789 yards, so well below all those numbers I just mentioned, but 14 touchdowns. We'll talk about if he can do that again in 2026. Zay Flowers, 182 points, 86 receptions, 1,200 yards, and 5 TDs. Nico Collins for the Texans in 15 games played, 170 points, 71 receptions, 1,100 yards, and 6 touchdowns. How about this name that obviously helped Aaron late in the season? Michael Wilson, 170 points. He's 10th, 78 receptions, 1,000 yards, and 7 TDs. A.J. Brown in 15 games had 170 points, 78 receptions, 1,000 yards, and 7 TDs. Very similar to Michael Wilson there. And finishing at number 12, T. Higgins had 169 points, 59 receptions, 846 yards, but 11 TDs, and did that in 15 games. So let's get into it. You heard the top 4 guys from last year, and it's no surprise. They're the kind of the number 1 candidates for this season. Chase, Puka, Smith-Njigba, and Amon-Ra St. Brown. I'll just spoil the fest here. We all have Jamar Chase at number 1. Mikey, why is Jamar Chase the number 1 for all of us?
For me, it's just when I look at Jamar Chase with Joe Burrow, and if it's a healthy Burrow, which I think we all really hope, he was just on another he was on another planet. Like last year Burrow was hurt and Jamar Chase was still excellent. I mean, 125 catches, he had over 1,400 yards, but you just look at the year before, in that year that Burrow went off, I mean, similar reception numbers, but almost 300 more receiving yards and 17 touchdowns. It goes to like a whole different category for me with Jamar Chase, where if I'm trying to choose between somebody like Chase or like a Puka Nakua, for example, that touchdown equity with Chase is what puts him over the top.
Todd, anything you want to add about Jamar Chase as your number one overall wide receiver?
I mean, I feel like Jamar Chase is I feel like he's the Antonio Brown because he's not that he's not the safe pick, but he's for the most part, consistent wide receiver. Now, obviously, this is all predicated on Joe Burrow staying healthy, but I just feel like Jamar Chase is like you're like, okay, I feel comfortable regardless who's quarterbacking. Obviously, if Joe Burrow stays healthy, it's even better. But he just feels like he's the consistent, he's the base, he's the base safe wide receiver to draft number one overall.
So while I agree with you guys, I'm going to try to play devil's advocate here, or at least kind of phrase it in such a way. But Puka Nakua finished first last year. Why would you not pick him first this year? I mean, he had 289 points compared to Chase's 243. Why wouldn't you just go in that direction again? Is there something that the league needs to know why they shouldn't put the number one wide receiver at number one again this year? Mike,
So there's a couple reasons. So Chase, number one, he has led the league in targets the last 2 years. So while Nakua outscored him, Chase was still out-targeted him. Two, when you're looking at Nakua, he has to deal with Devontae Adams, who led the league in touchdown receptions last year. So there's that when they get into the red zone, plus Kyron Williams. So Puka's not the number one option going to the red zone where I believe Chase would be. And three, Nakua, 3 years in, but, he's had his issues with being banged up before. He also has off the field issues, which we don't know whether or not he's going to be suspended. So that's also something to look at.
Yeah, I agree. I think the biggest thing for me is Matt Stafford's going to regress, right? Is he going to throw 46 touchdowns again? Probably not. Now, what you can say is Devontae Adams won't get 14. I still think Puka could get 10, but I think we'll see how that looks for Matt Stafford. He had obviously a fantastic 2025 season, but he's as older, he's dealt with back issues. I think that's going to play a factor. And so I don't think he gets 46 touchdowns. It's going to put Puka's numbers down. And I'll just say quickly about Jamar Chase that he's in the best passing offense with the most accurate quarterback in the history, and they have a bad defense, where Rams defense, not as bad. So I feel like Jamar Chase is going to set up to be number one. Okay, we'll keep moving on here, and we'll talk about Amon-Ra St. Brown. We're all pretty close on this. Todd has him fifth. I have him third. Mikey has him two. So Mikey, to have Amon-Ra number two overall really says, I guess, about his consistency and what he's been able to do in that Lions system over the past, he's been there 5 years. So give us your thoughts on Amon-Ra over Puka and JSN.
I mean, truthfully, you just mentioned the main reason. It's his consistency. The last 4 years, he's been amazing. But more so the last 3 years, like his numbers have been like so consistent, like something I've never seen before. Like, I mean, you look at his catches, 119, 115, 117. In yards, he's, 1,200, 1,400, 1,500, and touchdowns, 10, 11, and 12. So, I mean, I'm bullish on the Lions being a better passing offense anyway. And so with his consistency already, I look for him to be at his best year yet.
He's only missed 2 games in his entire career. And I agree with you. I think with Montgomery kind of out of the mix, we're going to see a little more red zone throwing. And so I think that's just going to help him in a lot of regards. And yeah, 172 targets last year is crazy amazing. Todd, talk about Jackson Smith and Jigba. We all have him 4th, so he's kind of that last guy in that top tier. Are any concerns about regression from what he did one season ago? 119 receptions, almost 1,800 yards and 10 touchdowns. I don't think anybody think he's going to fall out of the top 10 or anything, but he, for a guy that finished 2nd in our league, we all have him 4th.
Yeah, I mean, is he gonna replicate what he did last year? I'd say no. I mean, it may get close, but let's see if he can do it again, because it's always the thing about it is, it's like when you don't have that much tape or on a player, and because again, the league starts to figure you out, and that's where you have to think like, okay, is he going to be able to do it again? If he can do it again, then great. But I think you have to temper the expectations just a little bit. Like, if he's close to what he did last year, we would take it. We're not gonna complain one bit. But I don't know if he's going to be able to duplicate it or even do more than what he did last year. Because let's put it this way. I get it. When you win the Super Bowl, the target is on your back, so they're going to do everything humanly possible to stop you. So if he can get through that, then kudos.
Here's a stat I read that I think could hurt, or at least not allow him to put up the same numbers he did last year.
Mm-hmm.
His big breakout, he is the first player in Super Bowl era to lead the NFL in receiving yards on an offense that was in the bottom 3 of pass rate. And so, I mean, that just screams regression. This is not an offense like Cincinnati, like the Lions, who are almost pass first, right? They're run first to open up the pass. Their defense is elite. And so for anybody to expect JSN to put up almost 1,800 yards on a team that doesn't pass that often and factor in the bottom half of the league doesn't seem like something I want to put my money on. Am I crazy about that, Miguel? You had him on your team. You got to see it a little closer than maybe the rest of us. I feel like it's going to be hard to get those 1,800 yards again.
So I still believe in him because they didn't really change much about their team. I mean, they don't have a high pass rate, but when you're getting a third of your team's targets, I mean, it kind of doesn't matter. Like, they don't. That was the whole point of his breakout last year, was they got rid of DK Metcalf and didn't replace him. So, like, he's their guy. Like, I mean, they have Barner, the tight end, like, whatever. They picked up, Rashid Shaheed in season. It's like, okay, sure. Like, they don't have like that secondary weapon.
Yeah.
So there's like no threat to his volume whatsoever.
And let's be clear, we're not crapping on JSN. We're just nitpicking on the top 4. And I think the thing people will say too is Clint Kubiak is gone. He was obviously a big reason why that offense did what they did. And so they bring someone in new, and we'll see if they keep the train going over in Seattle. But the JSN, we all have them ranked 4th. Okay, let's talk about kind of the next tier of wide receivers as we dive in some big dogs here, and CeeDee Lamb versus Justin Jefferson. Now, when I mentioned those top 12 and how they finished last year, neither one of these guys were in that top 12. In fact, of course, Lamb missed 3 games and he finished 25th overall. And then for Mr. Jefferson, finished 23rd after having to deal with 3 abysmal quarterbacks last season. So, Todd, I'll start with you. Just looking over your rankings, you have CeeDee Lamb number 2, which is higher than myself and Mikey at 6. So give us your thoughts. Why are you so high on CeeDee Lamb? Is he, obviously you think he's bounced back for a big season?
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously I know George Pickens is there, and that took away a lot from CeeDee Lamb, but CeeDee Lamb to me still is the number one option in that offense for Dak to go to, and I just think I just think he's gonna. I think he's gonna bounce back. I think he gets. I think he at least gets double digit touchdowns. I think at least 11. They have him projected as not 9. I think he at least gets 11. And I know that's with George Pickens still there in the mix, but I don't know. There's something about CeeDee Lamb that I think he'll bounce back this year for the Cowboys.
Even over guys like, I mean, you love Puka and Amon-Ra, and we just talked about those first tier guys. You have them all over those except for Jamar Chase. Like we with Mikey kind of talking about what JSN doesn't have anybody else stealing touchdowns and passes away from him like Pickens. But I mean, what is the Dallas offense going to look like next year? Are they going to throw 600 times and throw 50 touchdowns, and for them to put up that type of number for CeeDee Lamb to be number 2 overall?
I mean, I don't know if they're gonna throw that much, but they're gonna throw it enough where I felt like CeeDee Lamb, is number two behind Jamar Chase. That offensively, I think the Cowboys' offense is going to be is going to be high powering. So I think CeeDee Lamb is a big part of that. I think he's still the number one option in that offense.
Mikey, you want to say anything about CeeDee Lamb, or should we talk about Justin Jefferson?
Yeah, I'll just mention one quick thing that I found on him, and this is what's kind of concerning with me with CeeDee Lamb, is that the previous 3 seasons he was averaging around between 7 to 9 touches per game. Last year with Pickens coming in, that dropped to 5 touches per game, and so I mean that really did eat at his volume. Yeah, I mean, they were a good offense with Pickens and Lamb, so I just don't know, unless Pickens gets hurt, how CeeDee Lamb's volume is going to increase that much to make him back to where he was.
Yeah, last year he finished 25th. Of course, he missed 3 games. And then 2 years ago, he finished 8th overall. It's been 3 years since he was the number 1 overall wide receiver, and that was without Pickens to kind of eat away at those targets. Let's get into some Justin Jefferson talk. Now, this was a guy that played 17 games and finished with 84 receptions, just over 1,000 yards, and only 2 touchdowns. Mikey, obviously, Justin Jefferson is one of the best wide receivers in the game. No one's denying that and what he's capable of. But obviously, with that quarterback situation, it hurt his fantasy value. They bring in Kyler Murray. Is he an upgrade? Yes. But is it enough of an upgrade to put him in the top? What do we have him at? 8, 6, and 5? And so in the top 8?
I think you have to pretend like last year never happened. And I know that's hard to do because obviously you have statistics that you can see. But J.J. McCarthy was on another level bad as an NFL quarterback that, to me, I just say, okay, I take my, my erasers, put them to the chalkboard. 2025 for Justin Jefferson never existed, and I look at the player he was before that. And yes, I do think that Kyler Murray is at least competent, so that Jefferson can, be the receiver that he once was.
So Kyler Murray, in 7 years in the NFL, how many 1,000-yard receivers do you think he's had?
I know he's had at least one.
Yeah, 1 or 2.
It's 1, and that was DeAndre Hopkins way back in the day, where Hopkins had 115 receptions and 1,407 yards and 6 TDs.
So
I don't know if Kyler Murray is that great. I mean, he's not J.J. McCarthy bad, but is he going to come in and have him put up 100 catches, 1,000 yards, and 10 touchdowns? I don't know if I believe in Kyler Murray that much.
No, I think you're making the case for Kyler Murray.
Why is that?
because what you're saying is he's only had one receiver that's maybe even comparable
he's
to
had
Justin
DeAndre Hopkins
Jefferson.
many of those years, okay? And so he just did it once with DeAndre Hopkins. And no one's saying that he's a bad wide receiver. Has nothing to do with that. I just don't know if Kyler Murray's that good enough of a quarterback, especially now later in his career. I don't think he's shown anything in the last few years that makes me want to say, wow, this guy's going to put up a great offense and he's going to be great. Now, we saw what Sam Darnold did there, but he's also still doing it, right? We saw him do it last year. I don't know. And maybe it's just me. I just don't believe in Kyler Murray. To put Justin Jefferson, you guys have him 6 and 5, I think. But yeah, go ahead.
I'm just saying that the gap between and you may not like Kyler Murray, and it's fine, but I'm telling you that the gap between Kyler Murray and JJ McCarthy is like the gap between Patrick Mahomes and Jeff George. Like it's that big.
Jeff George,
Like,
there's a reference, ladies and gentlemen.
His first name popped in my head, Todd. What can I say? I'm just telling you, JJ McCarthy's that bad.
I'm looking up to see who the backup is. Is it JJ McCarthy? Yeah, they have JJ McCarthy currently as the second quarterback behind Kyler Murray. So Murray, who doesn't even stay healthy, you're going right back to him if he ends up finishing second. I mean, Carson Wentz is still on the team that he can move up, but yeah.
And that is why I do not have Justin Jefferson second, ladies and gentlemen, because while I'm willing to say, yes, I love him and I'll put him, higher up in my rankings at 5th, I couldn't get him any higher above that because, yes, there is that risk.
So Justin Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb. We'll probably talk a little more about CeeDee Lamb here in a second as we get into we'll talk about them in a couple of topics here, but third tier, Drake London, AJ Brown. Of course, we talked about him a little bit under the New Places podcast, and then Nico Collins. And this group has a lot of questions with it. We'll start with Mikey. I'll let you talk about whoever you want to talk about in this mix that stands out. Or if you have a good stat, I'll just let you riff. Go for it.
Well, I mean, I talked about how I liked AJ Brown in the New Places podcast about how I think this is like the perfect match for him. He gets to go back to his old coach. He gets to go to, a quarterback that probably best suits his needs, that has like a really good deep ball. And it's his first year in his system. And with a malcontent like him, like first year is the best year because he'll be happy and not causing problems. I mean, AJ Brown has always been a really great, talent as a receiver that picks up a ton of points because he can run a lot of those deep routes. I feel like you're gonna see one of those seasons from him where he pops off, for another 1,500 yards and double-digit scores in a pretty good New England offense.
You took the question right out of my mouth. I was going to ask you what kind of number, like what's his ceiling, and 1,400 yards is quite the ceiling for a guy that I'd have to go look through his stats here while I talk, but for a guy that hasn't put up those type of numbers in a long time, and obviously he hasn't been healthy or he hasn't been happy, but that's a lot. He hasn't had a 10 plus touchdown season in 4 years. He's had one 100 plus reception season back in 2023, and he's reached 1,000 yards, but he has reached 1,000 yards in 6 of 7 seasons. So AJ Brown. After our last conversation about him, I've kind of moved him up from where I had him initially. I'm hesitant, but the opportunity is there. Todd, so Mikey, he talked about AJ Brown. You want to talk about Drake London and Nico Collins, and I'm guessing you're going to pick Nico Collins because you do not like Drake London.
That is correct. Ding, ding, ding. Tell it
on Drake London for you.
Yeah, because they don't have a quarterback, so that's why. But let's talk about Nico Collins. Obviously, CJ Stroud helps out a lot as well. He's the number one target in that offense. That's where CJ Stroud goes to as well. Now, obviously, too, sometimes Nico Collins will injury prone too as well. But again, they have him going for 7 touchdowns. He's the number one option in that offense, plain and simple. I don't care they brought in David Montgomery to run the ball. To me, Nico Collins, I mean, I had him ranked 11th in my rankings, and obviously, like I said, as the preseason goes, can always tweak it, and I can always and move him up if I feel like, all right, if I get him in the right spot. Because looking at where where Nico Collins is going to go, like is he, is he second round? Is he second round? I think it's a little too high. But I think like the beginning of the third. So to me, again, it's all predicated too on how CJ Stroud plays, because sometimes CJ Stroud can light it up and throw 3 touchdowns or whatever, but he can also throw 3 picks, and that sometimes what affects Nico Collins. I mean, obviously the situation's a lot better than it when Drake London's going what Drake London's has in Atlanta. So to me, Nico Collins is higher up for me on my rankings, and I think has the potential even to get into the top 10.
We kind of talked about Nico Collins. I don't want to spend too much time on it, but I feel like this guy's overrated. Mikey was trying to convince me otherwise, and I listened to Mikey. I listened to both you guys. I don't mean that, but like I was trying to listen to Mikey because I was like, man, I feel like Nico Collins is overrated. Like last year, he had a career high of 120 targets and he caught 71 passes. I mean, 6 touchdowns is fine. He had over 1,000 yards because he's always a guy that's going to go for the deep ball. But yeah, the offense is kind of meh. CJ Stroud is meh.
Mm-hmm.
I believe Nico Collins is a good wide receiver, but if we're putting we all have him around 11 or 10. I don't know. I just worry about him, and I worry about that offense. He missed some games, so you add a couple games and you play in, and it brings the stats up a little bit. I don't know why I just can't get my mind around him. Like, I hope I don't have the opportunity to pick him, because I just don't think I would if it came around to me. Now, if he came around to me in the late 3rd round, I'd probably be stupid not to, but I'd have to think about it. Mikey, go ahead.
Well, I think what I said was he's a better version of Cortland Sutton. That's kind of what I view him as.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah,
that's a good point.
Going back here, Drake London. We have not talked about Drake London, and so obviously Todd's not big on him. He has him 18th. Mike and I both have him kind of in that 9 area. I agree. Obviously, we saw the Bronco game, and Tua just looked abysmal. He had Penix a little bit last year. Obviously, was it Kirk Cousins that was there last year? Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, I think he's a super talented guy. He's dealt with hip and knee injuries, and if he didn't deal with that last year, his numbers would be a lot better than they were, and they were pretty solid last year. He averaged about 12 points per game in terms of what he was able to do with his 112 targets and 900 yards and 7 touchdowns. If he would have played, was that 5 more games, we probably have him a little higher. So, I mean, obviously the weapons are great over there. So he's not going to always be the first option, but I mean, when he's out there, he does make stuff happen. And so from weeks 1 to 10, London was the number wide receiver 6 in fantasy points, and he had a 30% target share. So that's a lot. So that's volume. Penix, you hope Penix is out there compared to Tua, but they're not going to face the Broncos every week either. And they probably don't want to show a lot when they're out there either. I'm not trying to, kiss butt for the Atlanta Falcons quarterbacks, but Drake London is one of those guys I think can kind of overcome some of that. Maybe I'm silly for that after he finished 19th last year, but again, he missed, 5 games. So Drake London, also kind of a guy. We mentioned a lot of these guys have question marks. We'll keep the train rolling here. Are these 2025 breakouts for real? So these guys between George Pickens, we talked about a little bit, Chris Olave, and then Tet McMillan. Todd, I'll let you start. Who do you want to talk about? Were there breakouts of 2025 real, and should we expect similar numbers to this year?
Oh, Chris Olave for sure, 100%. I have him ranked 7th. I think the Saints, I mean, obviously Chris Olave was the number one option anyway, and then the rookie Jordan Tyson, he's going to be out for a month. So just like Mikey said with JSN, there's really no competition for Chris Olave for him, and I think he's I mean, again, I think he has another opportunity to even get into the top 5 or even top 3. So 7 touchdowns. So yeah, he gets double digit. I think he gets double digit touchdowns. Oh, actually, no, I was reading the wrong one. My apologies. Chris Olave. Sorry. No, it was still 7. No, I think because he had 9 last year.
Yep.
He gets. He definitely gets close. He definitely hits the double digit mark for the Saints. So that's why I have Chris Olave ranked 7th in my rankings.
Mikey, you want to say anything about Olave, or do you want to say anything on George Pickens or McMillan from the Panthers?
I mean, yeah, I'll go quick. With Ted McMillan, I feel sorry for him, to be honest, because from a talent, I think he could be a top 5 receiver if he had like an actual good quarterback. I think he's that good. But unfortunately, he's got Bryce Young, and so he'll be good. But I don't think he'll be able to reach what his potential is. Pickens, this is where Todd's chip on the shoulder comes in, is because he's on a 1-year deal. He's going to be playing for a contract or a franchise tag or whatever from the Cowboys. So he'll be on his best behavior. He'll continue to play well like he did last year. And I think, wherever he's drafted, I think it'll be worth it.
Okay, I'm going to ask you, I don't know if you've looked at my rankings at all, but here's Eric's bold take of the year. Pickens is going to have more fantasy points than CeeDee Lamb. And here's why. As I went through some stats, I've done a lot of digging. I've done a lot of thinking. But I was looking up some numbers. I know Mikey's a big numbers guy. We all should be numbers guys in fantasy. So I was looking at Dak's passer rating when throwing to CeeDee Lamb at 94.1. Good number. When he's throwing to George Pickens, 122.2, which is second highest in the league behind Darnold to JSN and then ahead of Matt Stafford to Puka. So there is a great connection between those two. Mikey's a big points per game guy. Last season, Lamb, 10.5 points per game. Pickens, 12.9. How about some drops? Obviously, Lamb's very well known for his drops. He had 8 of them last year. Pickens, just 5. And so just looking over these numbers, and I tried not to, but it's hard not to. And I've had CeeDee Lamb a couple of times in the last 3 or 4 years, whatever it is. And just watching those games and trying to figure out what just looks better. I mean, the eye test looks like Dak and George Pickens has a way better connection. Obviously, with the one thing that CeeDee Lamb is going to kind of excel at is they can move them all over the field. And so to be able to move him away certain DBs and get him into the areas where he's going to succeed, it just seems like George Pickens is going to be the guy. And so I have him ranked. Now I have him ranked back to back because I also believe that Dallas's offense is just going to have to throw. And so to have him back to back at 5 and 6, is that crazy talk, Miguel?
It's not. I mean, the thing with Pickens is like he's always been, just looking at the numbers, like he's always been a really good player. It's just that in Pittsburgh, they didn't use him. Yeah. And so moving a player like as good as he is to an offense like Dallas, like, yeah, it was going to flourish because he just gets the ball more. And so, yeah, like I said, it's what made me worried about having CeeDee Lamb up higher was just that Pickens ate into his volume a ton. Yeah, I mean, I like Pickens a lot.
Okay, so I'm going to put you guys on the spot. Board bet. Will George Pickens have more fantasy points than CeeDee Lamb? Eric says yes.
No.
That is tough, only because it's all going to come down to probably touchdowns, because I think Lamb probably will have more catches, and so I'll stick with Lamb on that.
Okay, so there you go. Board bet early on. All right. What is my next question? Okay, how about some new situation wide receivers? Devontae Smith, and then Emeka Egbuka, of course, with Smith. A.J. Brown out of the mix. Egbuka, Mike Evans out of the mix. So, Mikey, which one of those guys stand out that you want to talk about?
I mean, I don't think I had Egbuka that high, so I guess
23rd. So you were the lowest out of all of us.
Yeah, so I guess I'll talk about Devontae Smith. Without he's another one. He's always been a good receiver, but lacks the opportunity. So yeah, without AJ Brown in the mix, this should allow him to get more touches and more cracks at the football. The one thing I do worry about with Devontae Smith is he's never been like a huge touchdown scorer. So I believe his receptions will go up, his yards will go up. Touchdowns, I don't know. And with Philadelphia, it's just they're so, especially when they get into the red zone, they're so reliant on Barkley, Tush Push, or Dallas Goedert that I don't know that number is going to go up. But his receptions and yards for sure will go up.
Yeah, he's been a good receiver. 3 1,000-yard seasons in 5 years. I think the big question, I mean, I'm kind of excited about him that with A.J. Brown gone, they like to throw the ball to their number one receiver, obviously with a new offensive coordinator and Sean Mannion. He comes from the Sean McVay coaching tree. Maybe some things changes. But if Jalen Hurts can get anywhere near back to where he was, and we talked about this before, where I felt like last year was just kind of an anomaly. They'll get back to doing what makes them succeed. They're just too talented coaching wise and squad wise that I think he's going to be really great. So Todd, talk about Mr. Egbuka, who for yours, you have him ranked 16th.
Yeah, obviously with Mike Evans now in San Francisco, I mean, he takes over now as that number one wide receiver for Baker Mayfield. And Buka showed a lot of flashes early in his rookie career, and everything kind of slowed down a little bit in the middle and the end, but he's the guy now. I mean, it's always the decision and the sign that set, that is, that tells you, all right, you're the guy now. We just got rid of Mike Evans, who's, who's going to go in the Hall of Fame. So you're the guy now. So I like Ibuka. I mean, he's going to be, I mean, obviously you still have Godwin there as well, but Ibuka is he's going to be the guy. He's going to be the guy, plain and simple. Again, going back to Mikey's point about, competition and things and taking, receptions away or whatever the case may be. And nothing's there.
Well, we'll see how Chris Godwin rebounds. I mean, he can't stay healthy, but Bucky Irving, we'll see how he responds. But I agree. I mean, he's going to get a majority of the targets, and he was incredible during the first 5 weeks of the season when Mike Evans was out due to an injury. He led all rookies in yards per reception. Like, this is a talented guy, and so I feel that the Buccaneers, they dealt with a lot of injuries. Baker didn't have his best year last year. I think he rebounds, and I think there's a lot of great potential for Egbuka to be that number one in an offense that likes to throw. Where are we at here? Where are we at time? I should probably check on the time. We're about 50 minutes, so we have a couple more questions to go through. How about let's talk about Malik Neighbors. He has his own category because he is quite the interesting story. Obviously, last season, he suffered a torn ACL and meniscus damage in the fourth week of the season or fifth week of the season. Just 2 years ago, Neighbors finished 6th overall in our league after catching 109 passes for 1,200 yards and 7 TDs. And so, and all the talk so far is that he's back at practice. He could be ready by week 1. Like, how do we feel about Malik Neighbors? We know he's capable of. Rankings wise, I have him 16th. Todd has him 20th. Mikey has him 14th. So I'll let Mikey kind of start. And how are you feeling? His upside is huge, obviously. There's got to be some concern that he's not going to be ready by week 1, but is it just one of those things like, well, you may not have him for the first few weeks, but then once he gets up and rolling in week 5, 6, he's a game changer and a league winner per se?
I think you hit the nail on the head. Like, to be honest, like, he can easily be a league winner. You're just hoping that he's healthy enough to do it. Like, I mean, all the talent's there. He was off to a pretty good start before he got that injury, in week 4 last year. And now, I mean, you're looking at, with Wandell Robinson gone and, out of the mix, like, who is there to do anything on that Giants offense?
You don't like Darius Slayton?
Yeah, come on, Darius Slayton.
Calvin Austin? No, I'm with you.
I don't. I do not like any of those guys.
He's like, I don't like him. I don't like him.
Mikey, Matt Nagy is the offensive coordinator, and this is a guy that likes the quick passes, which is great for Neighbors. They do a lot of RPOs, but that's obviously with Jackson Dart, that's what you're going to get. They like to spread the ball around. I was looking through Matt Nagy's career. He had one ultra amazing top 10 wide receiver, and that was Allen Robinson during his time. Should that be a concern for owners, or is Neighbors just that good and they're going to get him the ball?
I think that they have to. Like, I don't worry too much about Nagy, and here's why. Like, it's a Giants team that's like, I mean, it's all new. Like, their defense is not going to be like super like great. They've got Harbaugh coming in there, so I'm sure they're going to try and play a slower game. But if they get into some of these games like with really good offenses in their own division, like Philly and Dallas, and we'll see what Washington does, they're going to have to put points on the board. And they've got an unstable running back situation.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're gonna have to find ways to get things done in the passing game. And yeah, Neighbors is gonna have to be a factor.
When I was doing my rankings, and as I said before, I was like, this guy could win you your league. So I put him over guys like Zay Flowers. Can he win you a league? No. Can Garrett Wilson win you a league? No. Can Ladd McConkey win you a league? No. And so that's why you kind of have to put him. I mean, you may not have anything from him maybe the first 2 to 4 weeks, but if he's at the end of the season putting up 15 to 20 points a game, you kind of have to take that chance, I feel. It just depends on how many balls you have with you when that decision comes up. Todd, do you want to say anything that we haven't said about Malik Neighbors yet?
No, Malik Neighbors reminds me of, and it's not so much the off-field stuff, but the injuries. But he's like Josh Gordon, like Josh Gordon, like how good he was. Now, granted, his off-field stuff, prevented it. But when he was on the field and the weeks he was in there and everything, man, he could win you weeks and win you a championship. And I feel like that's. But with Neighbors, it's just injuries and everything like that. So I was using that parallel to that.
Okay, so one last question before we get out of here, and we're going to make this quick so everybody gets one person. So okay. Rebound season. So these are guys that did not have great 2025 seasons. So I'm going to ask you if they're going to have good years here in 2026. I have Terry McLaurin, Garrett Wilson, Ladd McConkey. Todd, pick one and go for it.
Scary Terry. I think Scary Terry is the obvious one. Scary Terry, in past seasons has been really great, but also 2 injuries and I don't know. Jaden Daniels trying to get him the football at times is sometimes a chore in itself. But I'll say Terry. I'll say Scary Terry.
What do you mean by you're saying Scary Terry?
That he's going to rebound.
Oh, that he is going to rebound. Okay.
He's going to rebound. I'm sorry. Yeah,
No,
he's going to.
I wasn't sure where you were going with that.
Yeah, no. I said Scary Terry will be the one that rebounds out of those three.
Out of this group. I mean, I just meant like talk about one, but.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. No, you're fine. Sorry,
You're
fault.
good. He believes Terry McLaurin is going to be back and ready to roll after he finished 11th 2 years ago with Jaden Daniels. Mikey, I'm going to guess and say you're going to pick Garrett Wilson.
No, actually,
I'm McConkey, huh?
I'm gonna go McConkey. It's Garrett Wilson. I believe in, but I just don't. Geno Smith. What we've been through. Poor Garrett Wilson. Can't he just get a quarterback? So yeah, I mean, I think McConkey with McDaniel coming in, like we've seen, like McConkey is a very reliable weapon. My problem with him is from an upside potential, he's not going to be a big time touchdown scorer, but he could be from an upside perspective like a Wes Welker, where he gets you a crap ton of catches, gets some yards and be a very, good weekly option to get you that 10 to 15 points. I just don't know if he's ever going to be like that, big time 20 to 30 point scorer on any given Sunday. But I like him to bounce back.
Definitely. And if you guys heard me already talk about how I feel about the Chargers offense, he had 82 catches and almost 1,200 yards in his rookie season. And last year, obviously, the passing, the offensive line was terrible. So he could get back to those 80 catches and 8 touchdowns. And I like him in the spot where I have him, which is 19th. I do have to question Todd why he doesn't have Garrett Wilson ranked at all in his top 50, but maybe that's just an oversight.
I thought I had him.
Maybe I missed him, but I felt like I gone through it a couple of times. Anyway, I'll talk about Garrett Wilson real quick. Obviously, I think it's an upgrade, at least for Garrett Wilson. I mean, it's not a huge upgrade, but it's an upgrade to Geno Smith. He dealt with a knee injury that ended his season after week 7, but he was doing fairly well. 36 receptions, almost 400 yards and 4 TDs. During weeks 1 through 6, he was the 10th best fantasy wide receiver. We talk about the volume. We talk about target share. He had 31%. They do bring in some weapons to try to help take some of the pressure off, but the rookies and Omar Cooper Jr. and Kenyon Sadiq. I feel like Geno Smith is a better quarterback than Justin Fields, so I feel like the talent's there, and we've seen him do well, even with bad quarterback play. So I still have him ranked in the top 20. I think he'll be a guy that's going to be wide receiver number 2, flexed at worst. So I'm not off the Garrett Wilson train, as long as it's not Justin Fields, because I don't believe him at all. Geno Smith is at least a passing quarterback. He may not score or throw for a lot of touchdowns, but at least completions and yards will help you out. So that's where we're going to end. We'll talk about those position battles a little bit more next week. And we'll talk we'll go deeper into our wide receiver talk. And then we'll also talk about tight ends. You guys excited about tight ends here this season?
Hip, hip, hooray.
I'm actually higher than you would think. From me, I always hate tight ends.
You do.
But,
you do.
And I ask you every year, this is a deep year. No, it's not. This year, you're feeling different?
This year, it's I wouldn't call it deep, but it's serviceable.
Well, take it. We got to take what we can get.
Compared to those years back in the early days of the MHA, where we're, putting out tight ends that are getting us 5 points per game, maybe it feels a little different here in 2026. A lot more points being had and thrown to our fellow tight ends. So that should be fun. I'm excited to talk about that one and excited to kind of look through some of our rankings disputes about our wide receivers, because we had quite a bit, so I'm interested in talking about them. But we are out of time here this week on Tuesday, August 18th. So want to thank the guys for coming on, talking wide receivers. We'll see you next week on the MHA podcast.